All right, what is going on, people of the YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, wherever this is streaming? It's your boy here again. Now, normally I have my co-host Alan here, but this isn't the Monday's typical Nerds Corner. It's a surprise stream drop. So with this surprise Nerd Corner episode, I have a special guest with me here to talk about today's topic, which you can see in the description here: the prison life. He is my brother-in-law. Sadly, regrettably, I'm kidding, of course. So yeah, here's first time on the channel. We got, you want your real name or you want your online name?
You can do online.
All right, so we got King Beast 585. His social medias will be down in the description below.
I regret you too, by the way.
Huh?
I regret you too, by the way.
That's what my mom said.
Yeah.
Well, my biological mom. That's why she disappeared. But yeah, you guys. So on today's episode of the Nerds Corner, we're gonna take a break from some nerdy fictional stuff, and we're gonna talk about the prison life, or what people think happens beyond prison, and what actually happens. And here with me is someone who was a former convict, who now life turned around, kid, wife, whatnot, job.
Yeah, I can't stand those people that be glorifying that shit.
Glorify. Yeah. So okay. So we're gonna get the questions just right into with the questions, because when it comes, people always say when you say glorify, when people say, oh man, if I go to prison, that's free meals, or no good, what is it,
three hot to the cot.
Yeah, three square meals a day, food, electricity, basically like you're living in an apartment or something like that.
Well, I mean, when you're there, it's almost like you treat it like it is your own apartment, like that is your domain. That's the only thing that you can control is inside of your own cell, cubicle.
Yeah.
Depending on where you're stationed, now all places are the same.
Yeah.
So, like for instance, downtown, in Rochester, they have levels. It depends on your max level. So if you're
like a video game,
kind of in a way, yeah. So you have the minor pit. That's where all the minors go. That's the juvenile detention hall. That's where my journey started, was in the juvenile detention hall.
Okay.
That was an experience I've never thought I'd ever have to go through at the age of 17.
Okay.
When I first got there, my first thing my mom told me when I called her up, because I was hoping to get the fuck out or get out of there. I did not want to spend the night there. I didn't even want to spend a few hours there. But how it went was my mom was like, look, we ain't got the money to bail you out. You're going to have to thug this one out on your own. So she told me, keep your head up. Don't push you around. Hold your ground. Don't get off with nobody until the guard got you.
Yeah.
Them guards, let me tell you, they absolutely love watching convicts fight.
Yeah.
So that's the most entertaining thing they ever see all day. But when you first get there, you go through a process of booking, right? They process you, so they call it booking.
That part, I knew that part.
You get your fingerprint, you sit in a room filled with a bunch of people, and there's like every wall has a door to a cell. Yeah. And that's like the quote unquote holding cell. And let me tell you, so you cannot breathe in them motherfuckers or those things. You can't breathe in them at all.
Wait, how small is it? Hold on, what happened? How
small? They're big, but there's no ventilation in them.
Oh, okay, that's what you mean.
So it's like you're not even getting fresh air. And then when they pop that little latch open on the door, that's like the only fresh air you get.
Damn.
Like you want to breathe some fresh air, you got to lay on the floor and sniff through the cracks.
Okay.
You can't. And then like, especially if they put you in there with somebody that stinks. Oh my god. And yes, the pictures you see of those toilets are true. They are metal. Okay. Your sink is attached to them, and they're right by your head.
And if you sit on it one winter night, your butt's gonna be cold.
Yes,
it's gonna have a cold.
But it's not a winter night. That's every time.
Oh damn.
Yeah, no, they do not put the heat on, and they do not want you comfortable. Nah. Luckily for me, I like the cold, so I was comfortable anyway.
Okay. Also, for those, if there's anyone just joining in, or my buddy Alan, if you have any questions about prison experience. Oh, actually, hold on. Let me highlight it. Ugh. Yeah. So my buddy Alan, he said, "What's the worst experience you've had?"
When I was in Henrietta. Well, I mean, I had a lot of experience, but Henrietta was probably the worst. I was taking a nap, in the middle of the day. Where they had me in Gen Pop, right? General population.
Yes.
And we had cubicles. There was no cells. Like there were walls. You got a locker. You had your bunks. On all my papers, it always says that I was never allowed to have a bunkmate ever, and I had one very temporarily. My bunkmate was serving life. Weird guy. And this
how weird? Me weird or what?
Weirder.
Damn, that's
like I would rather take you as a cellmate than him.
That's saying something.
He was serving life for robbery. He robbed a bank. And he had these comic books, right? And
this is the story we had before we went live. Okay, continue.
He had a comic book, and he relieved himself to one particular comic book. And when I first got there, I didn't have nothing. I was transferred from Henrietta.
I was curious what comic. I did find out what character. It was a DC comic character named Fury.
So I was transferred from Monroe because Monroe was like beyond packed to Henrietta. Monroe County Jail to Henrietta Prison.
Yeah.
When I got to Henrietta before they closed it down, I walked in. They were like, "Yo, you're going to block 32." And I'm sitting at block 32, and I'm looking at, like, from the outside, it does not look big at all. But once you're in there, you got towers. There's 3 levels.
Yeah.
So you got
3 levels of
flooring.
Of flooring. Okay. I got you.
And it's like you got the basement that has like this gym connected. Like you would have thought, like people who are about to serve life, that's like their stepping stone.
Yeah.
That's the most luxurious thing you'll ever get to. And of course, you get idiots that ruin it.
Yeah.
So,
that's just everywhere.
There was a gym. We worked out almost every day.
Yeah.
I had my workout team. Those are people that I ate with. If they were all showering, like that was my clique. That's where I was at.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like, a racial thing. It was migrated between a bunch of different people.
Yeah.
And we all just happened to connect on the same thing.
Yeah.
So anyways, back to the bunkmate that I had, he relieved himself to this comic book and he showed it to me. He was like, "Yeah, man, it's my favorite comic book person." And I'm looking at it. I'm like, "Bro, what the, like, you're in a room filled with dudes. Like, why would you do that here?" And now, mind you, that was a golden rule. You do not relieve yourself there, and if you did, you were just a straight target, no matter what, no matter how you looked at the situation, you were a target. Right, and we all talked about girls. It was weird. He was the only person that sat at the table, or even anywhere that I was at, because like normally you would follow your bunkmate. That's the person you live with.
Yeah.
Me, I was trying to hang out with you, bro. I was
He's like,
going with my clique.
Do you?
I'll see you tonight. We can chop it up tonight because I ain't gonna have nobody to talk to at that point. So he followed us around, and the clique was like, "Yo, what's up with your bunkmate?" I'm like, you know nothing about this dude. All I know is he relieved himself to a comic book, and everybody's looking at me like, "That's what we heard." I was like, "What was y'all listening to before I got here?" And when you first walk into a facility, you got to make it very known, like, don't mess with me.
Yeah.
Right, because I ain't going nowhere. You ain't going nowhere. It's you or me, and I'm gonna pick me every time. So, before he left, because again he was serving life. Yeah. So he was sentenced already. So he was being moved within 3 days that I was there.
Yeah.
So he got moved, and they tried to give me another bunkmate.
Okay.
And then when they looked at my papers, because they have to look at your papers. They don't always do it, but they're supposed to. They look at your papers, and they're like, "Okay, well, can this person tolerate another human being for, being in his space, depending on how bad your crime was. Apparently mine was bad enough that they decided to put this person away from me.
Okay.
But he was there for maybe 2 hours. I was taking a nap, and we called him Sumo, right?
Was he big?
He was very big Samoan guy, so we called him Sumo.
That would explain it.
And it was funny because he hated being called Cheetos. For some reason, he hated being called Cheetos.
So the fuck would we call him Cheetos?
He was, to us, he was orange.
Okay.
Because Samoan, they look orange.
Yeah, they're all tannish orange. Yeah.
He hated being called Cheeto. So I was asleep.
Maybe Donald Trump's Hawaiian.
I think so.
Maybe that's why he's orange.
We talked about that actually. That was a real big topic that we always had. So Sumo hated being called Cheetos, and there was a guy next to us who always lied about why he was there. And then while we were there, he'll sit there and be like, "Yeah, man, my wife, she's a corn star. She's a supermodel. Da da da." She sent him a picture, man. She looked like a walrus.
Yeah.
Swear to God, I'd rather go date a walrus than ever look at her. But anyway, so I was asleep, and I wake up to the cubicle, the one wall just shaking, and it was shaking so bad that it was hit the top, my top bunk, and I slept on the bottom.
Yeah.
I was like, well, why the hell am I gonna climb all the way up top?
Wait, it was on top. Wait, did you have anyone on top? Like
that's the crazy thing. Sumo was supposed to be on top that day.
Okay.
No, and not in that way. He was supposed to sleep on the top. So he was supposed to sleep on the top bunk.
Like, I got defensive about that.
I did. I had to clarify that.
Hold on.
So he was supposed to sleep on the top bunk that day, and he didn't last because the guy that was in the cubicle next to me that nobody liked, who kept lying about his life, he ended up calling Sumo Cheetos. He was like, "That's why you look like a cheese puff, and that's why I'm gonna call you Cheetos." So they ended up fighting in the cubicle next to me. And I've never heard of somebody knocking themselves out. Like, when I heard the story, I'm like, yo, what the hell? And then this cubicle shaking, and I wake up in the middle of it. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So I pushed it back, right? And I guess it hit him in the head. And when it bopped him in the head, he picked his head up, and he hit the top bunk and gashed his face open.
Damn.
And like from here all the way to the front was cracked open.
Damn.
I didn't know that's what happened. All I know is I was getting up to go pee, and this thing is shaking, and I'm like, yo, man, like, y'all gotta knock this out. Like, if y'all gonna do y'all fruity looty bull, do it somewhere else.
I'm trying to piss here.
So I went to the bathroom, and I come back, and I just see Sumo covered in blood. You would have thought it was a horror movie, just covered in blood. I'm like, oh, what's going on? So he pushed him in my son. I pushed him back. I'm like, nah, bro, like, take that somewhere else. I didn't know that my cell was the only cell that wasn't on camera.
Oh.
I could do whatever I wanted in my cell. I never knew that there was no camera there. And his blood ended up dripping on my floor, and I never noticed it.
Oh,
so
shit.
Then the COs, they all come around, and the story that they got, that they check your hands after a fight or an altercation that goes on, it's true. They do. They look at your knuckles. If your hands are red, you're a suspect. I had tattoos on my hand. I had red ink at the time, so my knuckles were always red.
Yeah.
But that's because of the ink.
Yeah.
First glance, and you're doing it quick because you're gonna have behind your job.
Yeah.
You're not gonna notice that it's red ink until after the fact.
Yeah.
So I come back up from the bathroom. They clean Sumo up. They give him a new jumpsuit, and it blew my mind that it took these COs an hour to realize what happened. And they realized it only because Sumo went to him covered in blood and said, I got to go to the infirmary. So, and now mind you heard this fight clear as day. Heard it. You heard the cubicle shaking and all. You hear the grunts and everything. And nobody came to this kid's rescue.
Maybe they thought he was going to busy.
No, that's not a normal thing to happen. I mean, like, up in Attica and people are serving life, ain't gonna see no poontang for a while. Yeah, that happens. But aside from that, no, that's not a thing that actually happens.
Yeah.
So the CO came to me, and he didn't even look at my hands. I'm sitting on my bunk, and he goes, "Why'd you beat up the cellmate?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" Like, I was asleep, and it was true, but it sounded so much of a bullcrap story that they didn't believe that I was asleep.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, man, run the cameras. You'll see. I came out, I was asleep. Like, you could tell I just woke up, and they were all adamant. Why'd you beat up your cellmate? Why did you, of all people, beat up your cellmate? What you got against him? I was like, I ain't got nothing against Sumo. Like, he was a cool dude, right? We ate together, we worked out together. He was chill.
Yeah.
They take me to this back room. They cuff me up and they take me to a back room. And they're like, okay, what happened to your cellmate? Now, that's a golden rule. You ain't see nothing.
Yeah.
And I actually didn't see anything. I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
So
that's the other thing that's true is snitches get
yes,
stitches.
That's true. Once you're known as a rat, you're solo. You do become a target. That is true. But so they took me to a back room. They're like, look, what's it gonna take for you to tell us what happened? I said, yo, man, give me a hot plate and a pack of Newports. I'll tell you everything. They're like, all right, done. Now what happened? I don't know. I was dead asleep. I don't know what happened.
I was just hungry.
Like, that's the God honest truth. I don't know what happened, right? And I figured, yeah, test my luck, see what I can get out of it, right?
Yeah.
So I go back to my cell and they go to the guy that actually did fight Simone, and they processed him again, caught a new charge. He ends up going to the hole. So everybody thought I snitched for a hot plate and a pack of Newports.
We'll get to this other one later, but
yeah.
Continue your story.
So I told them, I was like, yo, man, do you see a hot plate in front of me? Do you see a pack of Newports? No, obviously I ain't said nothing. I don't even know what happened. And I looked at my buddy. I'm like, yo, so like on some real shit, what the fuck happened? Like, how did the fuck happen? And so when they told me, I'm like, damn, Sumo beat the shit out of himself.
All right, so Alan, same guy. Alan was like, besides that's crazy. And then he said, is prison worse than jail? Which I'm assuming, aren't they the same thing?
No.
Oh, but yeah, that's
far
the next one.
same thing.
Is prison worse than jail? Is the question he asked.
It all depends on where you're stationed at. You know, it depends on where you get sent to. Attica is like gangland central. You know, Attica is very political. Jail is political too, but it's not as political. You know, you don't have cliques that you're with. You're all there together. You know, there's no blacks and whites and Hispanics and, you know, all that. That's not true. I mean, you have people that are gang affiliated, but they don't. Once you're in a pod with somebody, everybody tries to get along with everybody. You know, once you do some fucked or messed up stuff, then at that point, that's when you're like, yeah, nah, you can't eat with us no more. It's over for that.
Yeah.
The worst one I've probably been in was jail. Downtown was probably the worst.
Mind you, this is all in New York. Each state has, East.
Well, Attica wasn't in. Is Attica in? I don't think Attica's in New York.
I don't know.
I don't think so. I mean, it's probably in New York State.
Yeah.
I never paid attention to it. When they transport you, there's no windows, bro. They transport you in a tunnel, and they put you in the van inside this tunnel, so you don't really see outside that much.
Yeah.
So, I'm actually gonna look that up. That's a good question.
Hold on.
Is Attica
prison?
Yeah, Attica prison.
Is Attica prison in New York State?
I was gonna say because I honestly never paid attention.
Yeah, Wyoming County, New York.
Yeah, see, if it was like a 2-3 hour ride for us, so we could have been anywhere. We never knew. Some vans have enough visual to where you can see where you're going. Others don't. You know, if you're a violent criminal, which that's what they charged me with, was being a violent criminal.
Yeah.
You weren't allowed to see the outside at all. The most outside I saw was when I was sent to Henrietta from downtown. That was just because Henrietta didn't have a tunnel to put the inmates through. Like, we came in through a door, but I was shackled with two skinny dudes. One was a crackhead and one was a drug dealer. And they were talking about meeting up outside of here.
Like, hey, I got some stuff for you.
And it was crazy. My dad told me that happened to him once, and I was like, man, that can't happen. And lo and behold, that happened to me. And I was like, oh, this is true, I guess. But yeah, no. It all depends on where you are. In comparison from Henrietta to Monroe County downtown, I'd say downtown was probably the most tense because some people were going home, some people weren't. So there was that tension of, well, I want you to stay here with me. If I got to suffer, everybody's suffering with me. You know, I was in and out for a long time. If I added all my time together, I probably did up 4 years. You know, and I was in Attica. I was in E Block. That was the worst.
E Block Central.
Worst block I ever was. And that was just because, Attica is gangland central. I was covered in tattoos, and some of my tattoos looked gang related to them. So they were like, well, we're going to put you with this gang over here. And they ended up putting me with the Chicanos.
I don't know what that is.
The Hispanics.
So
in Attica, you got the Woods, Chicanos, and the Blacks. And they ended up putting me with the Chicanos. And man, when I tell you the Chicanos, they eat good. Listen, they do, man. I ain't never had no food like this ever.
Too Fast, Too Furious, man. We's hungry and we's ate.
Right. Like that's just how it was.
We so hungry.
And when I tell you, like, as a smoker, smoke, like, you can't smoke downtown, you can't smoke in Henrietta. But in Attica you could, you know, along with Elmira, Marcy, like those types of prisons, like if you were sentenced for a long term, you were allowed to. Just like you could buy a TV too, but that TV was cleared. You know, they had to be able to see through it. Some people painted it with they'll set a fire with toilet paper and Vaseline.
Okay.
And the black soot that they'll collect.
Oh, and they paint it so that way they can't see through it.
So they'll add some water to it and paint it so it'll be black.
Okay.
You know, but I would rather sit here and watch a flat screen than watch some weird box.
Yeah.
Considering that box didn't work 95% of the time.
Okay.
Just like there was no audio on the TVs at all whatsoever. You had to buy a Walkman and find a station that connected with the TV. Like how the hell they did that, I have no idea. But that was probably the craziest thing.
Okay. Oh, did you answer the is prison? Oh yeah, the is prison.
Yeah, it all depends on where you're going.
Oh, okay.
Honestly,
Alan, you got any more questions for him? I'm trying to think. What is one thing I got while Alan's trying to think of one? What is the biggest stereotype that turned out to be true, and then what's one of the biggest stereotypes that turned out to be false? Like, so what's one that turned out to be true and one that turned out to be false?
So one that turned out to be true is how they treat gay people there. That I thought that was a joke, you know, and I realized because I had a lot of friends that I was incarcerated with that, you know, I tried to stay in contact when I came out, but at that point they were going down a slippery slope, and I was like, yeah, keep that to yourselves.
Nah, I'm gonna do my own thing.
Right, like I got a kid and a wife now. I ain't worried about y'all anymore. I got to pay bills.
Yeah.
But how they treat gay people. There was a guy that I knew outside of here, and I never knew he was gay. He kept that very close to himself. He was looking at 10 years in Elmira, and Elmira is probably one of the sweetest prisons I've ever heard of. You know, and it's basically a mental institution essentially. But they called him Boss Baby. Yeah, that was his nickname, was Boss Baby, because he shaved his head. Okay. And he was like, yo, don't tell no. And I, like I said, I never knew he was gay. He just assumed I knew.
Yeah.
So when I got there, he was like, yo, freight train, don't tell nobody I'm gay. And I'm like, why, bro? Like, who the fuck cares? You're not gay. He goes, no, I am gay. And I was like, then why the fuck
freight train? I get you big, but was there another reason for freight train?
Because I was not somebody you would want to.
Oh, okay.
You know, when I was I got that nickname in the minor pit originally. Okay. And a lot of people that I was in the minor pit, some of them moved up to the towers with me. Yeah. There was a guy that took my tray cake and I hit him with a tray.
My honey bun was on there.
No, it was before I got commissary. But I hit him with my meal tray. And those trays are like this thick.
So we're trying to eat.
So I was mad because I'm like, yo, man, it's the only good thing I'm about to eat for the whole day, let alone the whole week, because they changed it every day. So I hit him so hard with the tray that the deputy put it in the report that it looked like a train hit him. Because I guess I broke his nose. And I knocked out some of his teeth, and his lip was real fat. He couldn't talk.
I'm about to make you look like my future father-in-law.
Basically. So that put in the report that it looked like he got hit by a train. So one of my buddies was like, yo, freight train, why you do him like that? And I'm like, yo, bitch, like, this is my cake. You're like, no, you're not about to eat my cake.
All right. So back on the original question. So what is
the stereotype? Some of them are true.
So now, what's the biggest one that turns out to be a lie?
The biggest one that turned out to be a lie is the COs, right? They say yes. They say that the COs do correctional officer.
Oh, okay. Continue.
The correctional officers, they say that, you know, they rape women. Some female ones rape men. Yeah. The female ones raping men, that's 100% a lie. 110%.
Yeah.
Now them raping the women, that's true.
No, go.
I didn't know if I could say that word, so it was that's touching.
Yeah. You can look. Hey, just
I'm trying to like filter it.
Yeah, no,
as
you
much.
good. Do what you gotta do.
So, there was a woman.
There's another question too, but I'm gonna wait till you get
there
done.
was a girl who actually that happened to, and her and I got booked together, and the officer actually did it prior to her being booked with me. Like she was supposed to be booked at 2:00 in the afternoon. I'm walking in at 10:00 at night with her.
Yeah.
And she told me this happened, and I'm like, yo, man, like, I mean, it ain't nothing I can do. I'm handcuffed behind my back sitting on a bench. Like, what, you want me to headbutt him? Dude got a gun. He can shoot me right here and say it was an accident. There's nothing I can do. But the women raping the men, that's not true at all whatsoever. The women can't stand us because we are such dogs. Because we know we're not going to see no Poo-Tang in a while. So we over here like cat calling everybody.
Yeah. If they got a pussy,
there was a male CO that would try to go after the men.
What the fuck?
And he was in the money pit. He was a kitty toucher. And I was supposed to get out within a week, but I ended up getting a refraction, so I had to stay another 3 months. And how it started was because, again, you know, my mom always told me, don't make yourself out look like no punk. You handle your business no matter what, right? There is no excuse. It doesn't matter who you are. You could be another inmate, a CO, a warden, a judge, you know, a cop on the street. It didn't matter. Yeah. So what I ended up having was he walked up to my cell and he grabbed his nuts and he was like, I'll make you suck these. And I grabbed him by his vest and I slammed him on my bars. And I told him, I said, you ever come near my cell again, I'll kill you. Damn. He put in the infraction that I tried to shank him. Oof. But there was a CO there who actually did care about the inmates. Like he was on top of his job. And if you, as a CO, if you're on top of your job and you're not against the inmates, like if they do you dirty, that's one thing. But if they treat you with the utmost respect, so on and so forth, then you'll be treated properly. And that CO, his name is Deputy Carney. I'll never forget him. He was there that day. And he told me, he said, the only reason why you got to eat this infraction is because you touched him. If you would have never touched him, you had every chance to walk out that night. And I didn't know that. And he tried to stop me too. But the crazy part was that same CO popped my cell. He had a gun. He was ready to come into my cell and do whatever it was he was going to do. But luckily, I was faster than he was. Yeah. So I grabbed him by his vest. And when I hit him on the bars, I ended up closing my cell at the same time. So that way he couldn't get in and I couldn't get out. Yeah. So that wasn't going to go no further. Once he let go, he got out of my grip and pushed away from the bars, it was a wrap after that. Yeah. You know? And then that's why they stopped bringing in, you know, that show, Beyond Scared Straight. Yeah. When I was in the minor pit, they had a bunch of kids in there. Yeah. And one kid, they actually put him in my cell because they didn't think I was that violent. Yeah. You know, they trusted me enough. I was a model inmate, semi. And that depends. The kid had a milk carton and he threw it in my cell. Now I'm in there for another 6 months and my cell's about to smell like spoiled milk. Yeah. I was mad as hell. I told Carney, I said, put that little motherfucker in here with me. He came in there. I'm like, clean this shit up. That is exactly what happened. I told her, I made him get on his hands and knees. I told the trustee, I said, yo, go grab the Fabuloso, go grab me a toothbrush, go grab me a mop bucket. Well, I made him scrub that thing with a toothbrush. And as long as I didn't touch him, all went. Yeah. Right? Yeah. But he was so afraid that he did it. And that was just the end of that. You know, after that, they stopped letting Beyond Scared Straight program in the minor pit because of that reason.
Now, the next one. Now, this one, depending on how far you can answer, you don't have to answer the whole thing. But he said, how did he get prison time? Does it matter what offense you get? Does it matter what offense you get determines if you get jail time or prison time? So the first question, that's up to you if you want to disclose that information. How did you get prison time?
How I did it? Well, there's a long list of how I did it, you know, and it's essentially how to get it is it depends on your term. You know,
I think
you could serve up to a year.
I think what he means by the first question is like, how did you get how did you get, you know,
incarcerated?
Yeah. I think the first question. Again, you don't have to answer.
That's how I met your Uncle Willie.
But yeah, so I will say the first one though, you don't do you want to answer the first one?
I was at the wrong place at the wrong time, touching the wrong things.
Not like that though.
Yeah. It was actually a federal offense that I did. It wasn't another person. It wasn't, a staff where I was at that caused my incarceration. It was his Uncle Willie.
Had to do with the fire alarm too.
Yeah, I was fucking around with fire alarms, and I didn't know that I was in a federal building. And when you set one off, you set 6 others. So because it was a false alarm, I was looking at 7 years. Judge threw the book at me, and only because he knew my mom and my brother. So he threw the book at me, and then I was also laughing in his face because I'd never been in trouble before. So I was essentially scared, but scared of the unknown, knowing that my life is in this person's hands. Yeah. So what ended up happening was I went, my lawyer did pull some strings and got me back in front of him a month later. When I tell you, I bit my lips so much that I started bleeding because I was trying so hard not to laugh. Yeah. And what ended up happening was I pled mentally insane because that was going to be my get out of jail free card. Yeah. So if you serve anything above 3 years, you go to prison. 3 years and under. So depending on the crime, 3 years and under,
that was the other question too, which is does it matter what offense you get to
Yes.
Yeah, so you did answer that.
It does. If you get a felony, you're looking at prison time. Misdemeanor, you're looking at jail time. Very rarely do people go to prison for a misdemeanor, but all my charges were felonies.
Okay. Oh shit.
Am I allowed to do this on here or not?
That's fine. It's right. Twitch and YouTube, and I'm pretty sure Twitch is okay with that. Well, see, we have the 30-minute mark because usually with Nerd Corner, we tend not to go over an hour. We keep the 30-minute. Depending on how the conversation goes, we drag we go a little bit longer. I don't have any questions. Do you have any last minute things you want to tell the audience, people that watch this, the offline version? Any last words of advice?
Well, yeah. If you happen to do a crime and don't be like those idiots that think they know what's going on or they know the law, because 9 times out of 10 you don't. Okay, your lawyer could either benefit you or hinder you, along with that judge, depending on what judge you get. Some judges, they're dicks, but then you have other judges that are for you. I had a judge that was all for me, right? He did make an example out of me. 4 years with this dude, him and I became very well acquainted to the point where he met my son in the hospital room. That's how well him and I got acquainted. But I also got arrested that same day when he was born. Yeah. Crazy as that was. And that judge, with every new charge I got, once I was sentenced to him, he stood by my side. He pretended to be my lawyer, essentially. He acted as my judge, jury. He was my executioner. And he told me day one, you're the youngest person in here. I'm going to make an example out of you. And that's exactly what he did. So my suggestion, don't fight the system. Flow with it. It's a hell of a lot easier than trying to argue your factors or whatever it is you did. That judge tells you don't go outside. Don't go outside. He tells you don't be around these people. Don't be around them people. Them people ain't worth it. I'm sorry. I like my outside food better than I like the inside food.
Now, with that out of the way, Alan, if you're still watching, plus I see we got another person here. Any more questions about prison life before, after, in between, before we end this Nerd Corner podcast?
And my job, I answer any questions y'all got.
Yeah.
I'd rather you know it from true facts than what you see on TikTok. Some of that stuff is not true.
Yeah.
At all. It's not like the Italians get a kitchen in their cell. That stuff's not true. The stuff you see on TV ain't true neither.
Yeah.
You want to see something true, 60 days in, it's about the closest you're going to get.
What about Scared Straight?
Nah, that's not true neither.
Damn.
Yeah, they sugarcoat that stuff.
All right, cool. With that out of the way, guys, thank you all for tuning in. For those of you watching the offline, give this video a like, comment down below. What else you want to see on the Nerd Corners podcast? See you guys Monday for my typical myself and Alan as the co-host, and I'll catch y'all later. You got any?
Oh, it is a true fact. They do make chess pieces out of soap, and they play Dungeons and Dragons in there.
Yeah. So, fellas, you can't have nerd felons. With that out of the way, guys, I'm Way of the Lock. That's King Beast over here, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.